honest with ourselves, we have all been in the darkness. We have all walked in those times. We have all been, if not yet having accepted Christ, there has been a moment that we have been without Him. And he mentions here two of the tribes of Israel. He mentions here two of those groups that had it very difficult. Zebulun and Naphtali. And he mentions how they had the darkness that had come on them. And it's the point, nevertheless, the dimness shall not be such as was in her vexation. It's going to be different in the coming time. As we look back on this and as we look at this with the context of the Christmas season, we of course can understand that this is that presence of the Messiah, bringing peace unto us, bringing hope unto us, bringing, as y'all are going to talk in the coming weeks, it's going to bring joy and love unto us as we look forward to the Messiah coming. From this context, there is coming a day that the darkness will end. There once was gloom, but church, it's coming to an end. It came to an end the day that Jesus, it began there as Jesus came and was born of the Virgin Mary. It of course ended as He was laid upon that old cross, and as they slowly raised it up there on that Mount of Golgotha. And as the bystanders sat and watched as he made those 7 statements from the cross with, "It is finished." The darkness is finished. The destitute is finished. 3 days later, the grave was going to be empty. The presence of the Messiah brings us peace. No matter what you are facing today, no matter where you are at today, if you are willing to give it over to God and follow after Him, whether you have never accepted Him or whether you've been following Him for many years, if you are willing to continually hand over to Him your life, your problems, your good times, your bad times, we can have this peace that He is speaking here, Isaiah is speaking here to the people of Israel. There once was gloom. But church, the promise that comes in verses 2 through 5. There once was gloom, but there is coming deliverance. There is coming deliverance. Church, this is the beautiful promise, and you can see it if you look back through those through those 4 verses there. You can see as he's talking about how the people walked past tense darkness, but they have what? They have now seen a great light. That this is indeed the truth for each and every single one of you gathered here with us this morning, and if not, what better of a time than today, but to be able to say, I once was lost, but now I have been found. I was lost in the darkness, and of course, he's not talking here of a physical darkness. He's not talking here of walking through the night. He is talking about the fact that there were people, those Israelite people and the people around them, that were walking in spiritual darkness. They were clouded from the glory of Christ. They were clouded from the relationship that they could have with their God. But we find that if we are willing to hand all of those things over to God, indeed we can go from lost to found. We can go, as that beautiful hymn, Amazing Grace, does beautifully tell us, we go from being blind unto seeing, from being lost being found. But we also understand that this is not of our doing. This is not of me and of you, but this is of God and of God alone. We can sit there and try to make something light, and I love the picture of these things because they're so hard to get the first time. We can sit there, we can try over and over and over again. But when Christ comes to our life, He lights up our world, not by attempting to do something, not by trying this and trying that and trying the next thing, but by saying, turn your life over to me, and it is all accomplished right then, right there, immediately. I once was lost and I couldn't get out of it, but God, I was willing to turn all of it over to Him. He pulled me out and He placed me onto the family role of His family. I have been found. That beautiful verse of verse number 3, thou hast multiplied the nation and increase the joy. And that's the old English way of saying that there is an increase. I know that's confusing, but he said that there is an increase of the joy. It's the beautiful truth, John 3:30, that I must decrease and He must increase. God is bringing the increase. Taking the back seat. I'm allowing Him to drive. I'm allowing Him to go and to take us where we should go. I'm being used. I'm letting God use me. But He is bringing that increase of that spiritual light unto those who accept Him as Lord and as Savior, but also the increase that we see here. Joy, the increase of that hope, that increase of the peace. And it mentions here and it compares there to the harvest. Those that have had a hand in farming, you would understand this. It's nerve-wracking until you actually get the fruit of your labor off of out of the garden. You're waiting because that next storm could ruin it. I remember many times we would plant our corn, we would have it ready to go, and it would be just a week or two away from being able to take those ears of corn off the stalk. Happen. A windstorm would come, and that windstorm would knock all of them down like dominoes, and you would have no harvest. It's the peace of saying, I have gathered the harvest. It is in the storehouse. It is mine. Nothing can now ruin it. The storms that are coming, it is safe because it is under the shelter. It's the beauty of seeing that He is bringing that peace that comes to us like it does to those that brought in the harvest. The joy in the harvest. The men rejoice when they divide the spoil, the beauty of watching as Christ is able to come into our life and able to conquer all the things that are coming against us. For Thou hast broken the yoke, verse number 4 says, of his burden, and the staff of his shoulder, the rod of the oppressor, as in the days of Midian. The yoke has been broken. That which has been pulling us down, that load which we have been attempting to carry on our own, He is saying that He has broken it. He has taken that over. As Christ will say, my yoke is light, my burden is light, and you can come and take in that. And that rod that it speaks there, the other word for that is to be a goad. It's just a long stick with a pointy end that they would use to point and to poke and try to get the ox or the mule to go in the right direction. And we watch here that goad that is poking, that is pointing, trying to get us to go in ways that maybe we desire not to go. It says it has been broken. The yoke and the rod of the oppressor has been destroyed. It was destroyed upon that day that Jesus hung upon the cross. And if you accept Him as Lord and Savior, if you walk with Him diligently every day of your life, desiring to be a follower of Him, desiring to know His Word, and desiring to seek after Him, He says we will keep that rod, we will keep that yoke broken, and it will be light on you because you will be following after the Savior. Church, there once was gloom. There once was darkness in our physical life, in our spiritual life. There was darkness. But church, there is deliverance. There is coming deliverance, and the beauty of coming to this Christmas season, Him coming there from the virgin birth, the deliverance that would come because of the old rugged cross, the deliverance for every soul that turn to Him today. Seek after Him. And if we know that we know that there is deliverance, what is left for us to know other than to know that the peace, that the King will bring peace. There will be peace with the King. As Isaiah calls Him there in verses 6 through verse number 7, that wonderful Counselor, that mighty God, the everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Church, the promise that He is indeed supposed to be the rightful King of David, the rightful King of Israel. The day that He was born of Virgin Mary, He was already of the physical kingly line, but also He is the Son of God. And it was He was to come, that He is to rule and to reign, and we of course look forward to that day when He will indeed do that in a very physical way. He will do that for those who see the beauty as He rules and as He reigns, but we understand we don't have to wait till then to understand the peace of God, but that we can have a part of that today with a relationship with Him, with walking with Him, with seeking after our God. We can have the peace that comes with a godly King. We watch as Isaiah, and again, this is why I mention this. I want you to see, and if you have time, I encourage you, go back into the Kings, go back into Chronicles, look at Uzziah, look at Jotham, and then see where Ahaz ended up. It was dark times, church. It was difficult times. And he's saying, but there is coming a king. I don't want you to think about the physical king. I don't want you to think about the one that's sitting on the throne right now. But I want you to know there is one coming that is a wonderful counselor, that is indeed mighty God, and that is the Prince of Peace. Church, no matter where we find ourselves this morning, no matter what situation we find ourselves in, we know that we can, as we talked to the students this morning, you can turn to God and you can find peace in Him. There will be peace with the King. It's the promise of the one that's coming. It's the promise of the truth that indeed He is coming. Of course, we're looking back on this almost 2,000 years after that truth of looking and knowing that He has already come for the first time. But we see the promise that was given thousands of years before Him, all the way back in Genesis chapter 3. The serpent will bruise his heel, but he will crush his head. It is the truth that He was coming to redeem His people. We see that God has accomplished His promise. He has fulfilled what He said that He was going to do. So in the peace of the King, we see the promise and the accomplished promise of our God. We also see the hope of deliverance. We see the truth that indeed He is coming to redeem His people. He is coming to buy them back. Of the increase of His government and peace there shall be no end. Upon the throne of David and upon His kingdom